Welcome to Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. I'm your host, Latonya Simms, and we're celebrating Black history. Today I have two very special guests who are going to talk about albinism and vitiligo. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Before we get to the Miss with Lucretia, I want to introduce a very special young lady here today to talk about vitiligo. Her name is Katie Danielle Harris.
Amen.
And
Hello,
thank you, Katie, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And you're going to shed some light on a condition called vitiligo. Tell us exactly what that is.
Well, vitiligo is a condition, and it's not anything that you're born with. Anyone can be affected by it. It's something that happens through trauma. It can happen if pre-diabetes. It can happen, stress. So it's not anything that that you can avoid. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And all it is your pigments are fighting to protect you from something that's not there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All
They
right.
see the stress and they see what's going on and they say fight, protect. We got to save, and all they're doing are fighting each other.
Okay.
And at some point they lose color. The pigment lose color.
Okay. All right. So I know of one particular famous person, Michael Jackson.
Yes.
He had vitiligo.
Yes.
And there was a lot of stigmatism. People were saying that he was trying to be white.
Yes.
And so that's not true. It's just something that happens to your
Yes.
skin, like you said, to protect
Yes.
you from something,
Yes,
right? Okay,
that is
so
true.
I heard there's a term called generalized vitiligo. What is that?
Now that, I'm not exactly sure exactly what generalized is, because to me when you say generalized, it's to a certain location. And with vitiligo, it's not like that. It has the opportunity to spread at any given moment.
Okay.
There are no signs. I've heard some people say there's an itch, but I've never had an itch anywhere. I can be sitting here and look down and lost color.
Okay.
So you don't know. From my experience, you don't know. It just begins to happen.
So is there anything you can do to prevent it from spreading? Or
No, because when the pigments are fighting, you don't know where they're fighting. You don't know when the fight began.
Wow.
You just know where it ends.
Okay. Okay. So are there any emotional or social issues that you have to face having vitiligo?
I believe that is according to the individual and how confident you are in yourself. And for me, being a pastor and a prophet, God has showed me things before they happen to me.
Okay.
And when he showed me the effects I would have with vitiligo, I didn't know it was going to be vitiligo. I just knew where he showed me the patches would be, and he showed me my face. And when I woke up, I'm like, God, no, not whatever's going, not in my face, But when you become confident in who you are with Christ, and he chooses you to be a testimony, you just walk it out.
Amen. Amen.
You just
Go
walk
on and
it out.
walk it out then. So I know this is a crazy question, but I'm sure some of our audience would like to know, is vitiligo contagious?
It is not, by no means.
Okay.
You cannot catch vitiligo. If you shake my hand, you will not walk away with vitiligo.
Okay.
No, it's something that happens to the body through, like I said, drama, stress, pre-diabetes. It happens, and it can happen to anyone at any given moment.
So once you start, the pigmentation starts changing, it will not go back?
Well, I'm not going to say, because I have some spots that have returned color, like this here. You see these? This is color coming back.
Show the audience.
If you can see the darker spots here,
yeah.
that's color coming back.
Oh, okay.
So I would say that it's not permanent, and I can only speak for what I experienced
Right.
from this condition. I can say that it's not. Even around my eyes, the spots you see, they were much lighter than this. Around my mouth, it was much lighter than this, so it's
Okay.
color coming back.
So you getting your healing.
Yes, I am.
Amen.
And I'm going to walk it until it happens
All
fully.
right. Well, you're a beautiful woman, and I
Thank
thank you
you.
so much being here today. Is there anything that you'd like to say that, like maybe are there any precautions that people, do you have to stay out of the sun?
No.
Will certain things trigger it more? No?
I wouldn't say, but I would encourage them to wear a sunscreen.
Okay.
Because it's a protection against the skin. And that's whether you have vitiligo or not. We all should have something to protect us, protect our melanin. So whether it's vitiligo or not, protect yourself.
Okay, so you know we had Lucretia here
Yes.
with albinism, beautiful woman.
Yes.
And so what do you, sometimes has anyone said to you, are you an albino because your skin is changing, or have you experienced anything like that?
They haven't asked me that question, but a lot of people will walk up and just say, what's wrong with you? Or what is that? Or what happened to you? Because I wasn't born with it.
Right.
You know, I began to experience this probably a couple years back.
Okay.
You know, I had some trauma, for a car accident.
Oh.
And my body was just inflamed with so much pain that at that moment it said, protect her.
Right.
And I just began to experience different, spots. And first it started out with a little spot over my eye. And then I woke up the next morning and it was a wider spot. I'm like, okay, God, what's going on?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and
Thank you for having
enlightening
me.
us on this condition called vitiligo. So audience, let's say goodbye to Miss Harris and thank her for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Welcome back to Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. As promised, I have with me today Lucretia Ventura. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia now. And we're going to talk with her about albinism. Now, Lucretia, the first time I heard about albinism was today.
Right.
I always referred to this condition as being an albino.
Right.
So is that okay? Or tell us exactly what is albinism?
Okay, so albinism in itself is an condition that a person has, whereas when we're being developed, the gene that creates our melanin, which gives your hair color, your skin color, and your eye color, that is not formed, or it's called hypopigmentation. So as a result of that, we lack skin color, we lack hair color, and we lack eye color for our cultural backgrounds. The condition kind of transcends every race, every culture, plants, animals, anything that develops color can have albinism. And because the lack of pigment develops in the eyes, people with albinism tend to have eye conditions, whereas it'll hinder them from doing certain things depending on the level that it's affected. There are people like me who, of course, I still need sunglasses because my eyes are light. I don't have much pigment in them, so I have to protect them from the sun. But I can still see to drive and kind of live a normal life, whereas there are other people it's more affected, so they need more help and more devices to kind of get them through their day-to-day activities. But that's more or less what it is.
Okay.
All
right, so do you prefer I say, Lucretia, you're an albino, or Lucretia, you're a person living with albinism? Or does it matter?
See, that word, it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Albino in our community is kind of like the N-word in the black community as a whole.
Wow. Okay.
So depending on who you say it to will either embrace it and be like, yeah, I am, it is what it is, or they'll be highly offended and they, will let you know as equal that they are a person with albinism. Personally, y'all don't kill me, but I'm an albino. That's what I grew up under the term. That's what I was known as. And that's where I accepted myself. I'm fine being an albino black woman. It's, to me, another adjective that just explains who I am. It doesn't make up the kind of person or, the characteristics that I have. It only just describes who I am. That's
Okay.
it.
Well, tell us, how prevalent is albinism in the black community?
Well, on a global standpoint and the black community as a whole, reaching across even to Africa, it's as prevalent as 1 out of every 3,000 to 5,000 births, depending on which region that you're in. I believe Nigeria has the highest concentration of people with albinism, but that number fluctuates, I believe. As far as here in America, it goes as 1 in every 17 to 22,000 births. You will have a child with albinism. So it's much more rare in America than in Africa, but because it's so prevalent in Africa, we know that it's more prevalent in the black community as a whole. Whereas, like I said, other races and cultures, they have it, but it's not, the numbers aren't as significant as it is in our world. Yeah.
Well, Lucretia, you are a beautiful woman. I have to
Thank you.
give you that. You
Thank
are
you.
a beautiful woman. And so I want to ask you, and possibly a lot of us want to ask you, do you feel like there are any advantages that you have by having lighter skin? I mean, do you feel like you may have an advantage in the white community?
Hell yeah.
Tell us about that.
Listen, let me be frank and let's just be honest. In what I find, and this, again, this is just my own perspective, my own experience, other races, not just white people, but other races don't have a problem with black people. I just think they have an issue with the color. The color of skin has been indoctrinated in this foundation of America and the invention of African Americanism so much that it's like, even when they don't want to be prejudiced, sometimes you can't help but have them flare up, and then you have to self-check it. I don't necessarily have an issue when I'm around white people, Spanish people, Asian, you know, I'm from Miami, first of all, so we have all cultures down there, so that race thing isn't so bam. But whereas, you know, other places, like I find some parts of Georgia, it's so black and white that you kind of can't help it. But I feel like I'm comfortable. I was born from a black woman. I have a black husband. I'm going to have black kids. So I'm fine walking amongst either side.
Okay.
You know?
But you have an advantage because
I have
you
that
have
advantage
lighter
because
skin.
my skin does.
Right.
But
So-
you know, it's not the first time this happens. Like Dr. King, as revered as he is, he had a man with albinism to help him infiltrate white society.
Wow.
He did.
Tell us
and,
about that.
And there's a picture, if you ever Google it, you'll see Dr. King walking arm in arm with a man, and the picture says, Dr. Martin Luther King and the unidentified white man.
Oh.
But he's black, and his name is Jesse Douglas. And what he would do was infiltrate the whites only rallies in the whites areas, and he would go in there using his albinism, and he would just sit and listen, and then bring that information back to Dr. King, and that's how they got, you know, to keep ahead and do the things that they were able to do for us today, back then. But because he's still just known as the unidentified white man, the whole albinism and the contribution that we did for our own culture gets washed away. And so knowing that as an albino or a woman with albinism, and then still walking amongst my people and they're, are you black or white? Or what is albino? What is albinism? It's kind of like, dang, what if we really did just know? You know what I mean? What if it was just something normal, something that we just know about ourselves as people? We're black and we can create white. Like black is so powerful, we can create any color under the sun. We can reproduce anything from porcelain pale blonde hair to dark berry sweet juice. Like we can do it all. But we don't know that, and more importantly, we don't accept that. We don't embrace that. We push each other away based off the tones of our own skin, and that is our problem as a culture. And that's why we can't get ahead the way we think we can, because we don't let ourselves do that.
Well, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Lucretia, why do you think there's a lack of education or awareness about albinism?
Well, mainly because it's so rare, being, the numbers of births. I think it's about correlation. If you yourself isn't albino, or you don't have an albino child, or someone you love has albinism, it's not anything that you'll think about. It's not anything that you'll, care too much to go investigate and want to learn, unless you're one of those people. But on a, general scale, people kind of just want to tend to what's going on in their personal world. So if albinism isn't in your personal world, you don't really think about it, and I think that's where that lack of education comes from, that lack of interest in knowing comes from, let me say that. And then education part, because in the school system, I went through the public school and I never learned anything about myself. In the science class, there was like one paragraph, and all it mentioned was albinism is a condition that lacks skin, hair, and eye color. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That was all that was in that book. And so if I'm a kid and I'm normal and I just read one sentence about something, I don't see any other person, I'm not exposed to it ever again, I'm not going to remember that fact. So then when I see somebody walking past them, I'm not going to remember that's not albino. I'm going to, oh my God, you're white. And that's just, it's that lack of education as children that we grow up blissfully ignorant as adults. Let me say that.
Okay. Well, I know that kids can be cruel. And so tell us about your childhood and how you become the person that you are, the confident person that you are, because I know as a child it was probably difficult. You may have been bullied, and kids are sometimes painfully honest,
right.
and say things. So have you had any challenges growing up that may have affected you now or made you become the confident person that you are now?
Well, see, the thing is with the bullying, I can say everyone to a certain extent goes through that. So I don't want to make it seem like it was just like so bad, you know what I mean? Because everybody as a childhood can say they went through something that was just so traumatic for them. What I will say is it was more difficult just because in school when you're kids, again, you're only taught you're black, you're white, you're this. You're not taught specifics, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if I'm an albino black girl in an all black school, and all these kids only know black people and white people, they're gonna look at me and say I'm a white girl.
Right.
Because I don't look like them.
Right.
They haven't been taught about people like me. So you white. That's not your mama. That's not your sister. You adopted. So they'll have those things because, again, they're kids. They only know what they're taught. And lack of education, lack of interest in knowing, issues that we have. But my home base was very instrumental in my development as a person. Like I've had family that called me ghosts, called me white, picked on me. And these are cousins, these are uncles, aunties, the people that's supposed to give you love and acceptance, and they would use it to pick on me. But then I also had my mom who's very defensive of me. I had my grandmother who, if someone said something to me, she would not defend me. She would tell me to speak up for myself. And as a 6-year-old child, 8-year-old girl against a grown man, grown woman, I was scared. Like, am I supposed to say something? I'm gonna get in trouble. Like you taught not to talk back to adults, but she's saying, Lucretia, they call you white. What you gonna say? I don't know.
All right.
But that training taught me that when I got out into the world and nobody was there to protect me, I had to be able to speak up for myself. And I had to be able to say with confidence who I am and, more importantly, who I'm not. And so, you know, through growth, and it was a journey, I've had my days where I cried, and I, you know, still do sometimes. Like, you still will have those days where you feel not your best. But you got to remember who you are, first of all, and why you're here is for a very specific reason. Like, you're special. No matter if you have albinism, vitiligo, whatever condition you have, if you're born just perfect, you're still here for something. So you have to find why. And I think for me, I found I was here because I was able to find this confidence in albinism that a lot of people can't seem to find. So I'm here to show and prove that it's okay. It's okay to be a porcelain prince, porcelain princess, porcelain king, porcelain queen, you know, whatever you want to call yourself, albino royalty, albino princess. We have so many names for ourselves now that embrace who we are because of social media, because of entertainment, because of discovering that we're not alone, that we didn't have as kids. So I think it's important now that we have these platforms to really put it out there so that the generations now and to come won't be as closed-minded, you know, even if they're not taught at home, they know now because they can find it for themselves. We'll have it a little bit easier growing up. Well, the babies will, you know, I'm already grown, but the babies.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to ask Lucretia some questions about some myths that are out there about having albinoism and some crazy things. So just stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we're back to Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And we're back with Lucretia, and we were going to talk about some of the myths that come with albinism. And man, when I heard some of the myths, and I just laughed. And so I'm going to get Lucretia to tell us about some of those myths that come along with albinism. Go ahead, girl.
You see I'm laughing, right? It's really not funny because it can, depending on where you are in this world, it really, you know, your life is at jeopardy just because you have this condition. Mm-hmm. Some of the weaker myths, let's start lukewarm and then we get spicy, right? So some of the weaker myths is stuff like we have red eyes, right? So you take a picture of somebody with albinism, the lights come out, their eyes are red. So people, oh, you got red eyes. Okay, nobody's born with red eyes, people. First of all, what it is goes back to melanin. There's a lack of pigment, a lack of color in our eyes. So you'll see people with albinism tend to have lighter eye colors, the greens, blues, grays, depending on, again, your personal family genes and all the other scientific stuff.
By the way, your eyes are beautiful. They look light brown. They're very pretty.
They're green some days. I don't know. People ask me what color my eyes, and I tell them, look, and you tell me. Because depending on the lighting and what circumstances, they'll change.
Okay.
And again, that's because of that reason. I don't have melanin. So when you take a picture, again, we have photosensitivity, light sensitivity. So that flash bypasses the iris. And since we don't have any color or melanin to protect it, and you just catch the color, it goes straight back to the retina, so you'll see the blood vessels. So that's what you're seeing, a caption of the blood vessels behind the eyes, because we don't have that color to shield it.
Okay.
So we don't have red eyes, people. We don't have any color in our eyes, so you see the blood reflect back in the pictures.
Okay. All right, so that's one of the little
That's one
myths.
of the baby myth.
One of the nicer myths.
Yeah. Another myth is that it's contagious or it's a disease. First of all,
Let's say,
Just-
first of all.
Just no. Let me just, the nice way to just say it is no. We're not sick. It's not contagious. It's not a disease. There isn't anything, if you touch a person with albinism, you're not going to catch the cooties and all that crap that, comes with it. But I do think that's loosely based off of what it is in Africa.
Okay.
Again, depending on where you are in the world, and that's where we get juicy, they think that either your albinism is a blessing from the gods or it's a curse because your family did something and now this is what you have to pay back. And then the people who believe that, depending on what it is, again, your life can be in danger because there are people currently that are being kidnapped, raped,
Wow.
mutilated, body parts cut up, used for potions because they believe if you drink the blood of someone with albinism, you'll bring about wealth and good fortune in your life.
Wow.
If you have sex with a woman with albinism, it'll cure you of AIDS or whatever disease because she's pure. You know what I mean? So it's like those things make it very dangerous. Just being born with albinism on top of, our skin is sensitive, so we have to protect it from the sun. We have to wear sunblock and, protective clothing because that melanin, again, allows the sun rays to go straight through, and that's what that is. So, is it infectious? Absolutely not. Like, we're not going to bless you or curse you, depending on the person and their characteristics, they could bring about good things or bad things in your life, but that's anybody, So that doesn't have anything to do with the condition itself. And then being with someone with albinism doesn't mean that your kids are going to be born albino.
Okay.
Like, born albino, born with albinism, however you want to put that.
But is there a chance?
It's a chance if you, as the melanated partner, if you have the gene in you, then yeah, you have that chance. If two people who are of normal complexion both have the gene, then you have a 25% chance of having a child with albinism. So it's still low. Out of 4 kids, 1 could be albino. Now, say if you are a person with albinism and then you procreate with someone who has the gene, then you go up to 50% chance.
Wow.
So it's still,
Genetics.
it's still kind of,
It has to be in both people.
right. And now if both people have albinism, it's still a 50% chance that your child can be born with albinism or born normal. So, well, you're born normal either way, but born colored, let me say that. Like born with color, because that's the only difference is we don't have the color, so we have to be more protective of our bodies and our eyes because of that. That's the only difference. Like I like to say, we got 4C hair going on, it's just, it grows out gold instead of black.
And is that everywhere?
I mean, again, depending on who you are.
Okay.
Like some women that I know who have albinism, they have brown hair. Like one of my good friends, she's albino, but her hair is dark brown. Like, and we're like, girl, you're weird. Like even all of us in the community, we still notice the differences within our own condition. Like, oh my God, we're all not the same. Even though we have albinism, we still have very different characteristics within that condition. So I think there's like more than 6 types. Like there's 3 main ones. You have ocular albinism, you have oculocutaneous albinism, and then there's one that is called HP something. Y'all don't come at me. I don't know because that's not really one that happens prevalent in the black community. So I don't really know too much about that one, but albinism is a result of a condition that they already had, and so the albinism is a result of that. And that one has a little bit more problems and a little bit more complex issues going on. But for the general people with albinism, you have people like me, oculocutaneous, who hair, eyes, and skin is affected. Then you'll have ocular albinism where only their eyes are affected. So they'll have color in their skin, you know, the red bones, if you will, with the red hair, whatever, and just their albinism is in the eyes. Like, you know, they can probably not see too well, whatever, but it's not as obvious as people like me who share the OCA1. So it's like, it's all kind of science behind it. There are organizations dedicated to that, to learning the ins and outs. I'm more concerned about the cultural aspect, the cultural acceptance, how we're represented in TV, movies, films, the media in general, on the runway, print ads, all the other stuff that we pay attention to. Because most people don't pay attention to the science unless they're interested. But everybody watches TV. Right. Everybody listens to the radio. Everybody, you know, tunes into some kind of media platform where I think the representation, it needs to be, but is lacking.
Okay. Well, speaking of organizations, you have this beautiful flyer here, the Association of African American Albinism in America, because our black is gold. And so if you want to get in touch with Lucretia, you can email her at 5AA, so 5 A's, the number 5, and then 5 A's .org at gmail.com. So Lucretia, it has been an awesome pleasure having you here with us today on Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And Lucretia is willing to come and talk to your organization and make you aware of albinism. And she's doing a great job out there. So any way that we can support her, let's do that. And again, thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and talking to you.
I just, two quick things before we leave. One, we changed the name.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's just this is old print, so you know, we got to redo it. But it's still 5A. It's just the Association of African American Albinism Awareness. Because we already had America in there twice, and no need for that.
So you know, say it one more time.
The Association of African American Albinism Awareness, 5A. Our Gmail, where you can reach me, is 5, the number 5, AAAAA.org at gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Black Albinism. In September, we're going to be hosting a albinism awareness walk in Atlanta. There we have plans to kind of document that and create, you know, some content that we can put out for people to start seeing that we're here, and we're here, okay? And that, just like the show said, we're gonna say it loud that we're black and we're proud, and it's time to start bridging that gap, so that's what we're gonna be doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Background clap. I love it.